All right, welcome back to Becky Keeping Horse Training, and this is Training Tip Tuesday. This here is a coming 3-year-old stud that's been retained by Allowing Ranch for a prospect here, and I've kind of been playing around with him this fall. We haven't had the most consistent weather, so I've just been mostly trying to make friends with him and do a little bit more each time when I work with him, but I haven't been able to get after him every single day or every other day like I normally would. He's gentle enough that, and he's small enough that if I wait until it warms up a little bit, it's going to be okay. Where some of these other big ones, boy, you got to get after them pretty quick. Otherwise, you got a whole lot of horse on your hands when you go to ride them at 3. So I had a question via, I think it was email, subscriber request wanting to know how I went about handling young horses' feet. And I think they were referring to a weanling, but I'm going to show you to start how I do it with a 2 coming 3-year-old. And then if we have time, depending on how long this video gets, I'll switch to a weanling and I'll show you on a weanling. So this guy was really friendly and gentle when I got him, and you could get a halter on him, but he really didn't know anything else. He didn't know about being touched and rubbed all over his body. He didn't know any of that. Come here. Whenever the dogs come over, they get brushed too. And they play an integral part in getting horses broke for me. Because if you got dogs around them, then they're going to be a little bit safer with kids around them. And I don't have kids here, so the dogs are going to be the next best thing. All right, go back. Okay, you guys go on. All right, so, he'd been petted on his head and maybe touched on his body, scratched on his butt, but not in an atmosphere that was out of his comfort zone. This obviously isn't where he was born and raised. He was born in a different part of the ranch. He was raised in a different pen. This isn't his normal surroundings, so it's all different. So part of the training process is getting them out of their comfort zone and allowing them to experience something different and seeing how they react when you take them out of their comfort zone. And so I really like that this colt has a leg cocked. He's relaxed. He's okay with what I'm doing to him here. I can touch every part of his body so far. But handling feet, for me, starts with being able to handle the rest of the body and being able to go through a basic currying session and brushing session on them and running my hands all over them and see, even going up underneath his belly. There's a lot of horses that don't like that at first. And so getting them used to that sort of thing, putting the cinch on him, putting your back cinch on him, that's all scary things. And if they're not used to it, obviously there's going to be some reaction to it. So you kind of want to see, and again, like last week's Making Good Choices Monday video, I tend to stand in a way that if he were to kick out, he's going to get like maybe the back of my leg, or like if I do it this way, I have both of my hands out, and if he goes to move rapidly, we've all had those horses that move really quick and you kind of get shoved out of the way. That shove out of the way is a little bit easier to take than that one when you're standing like this and they swing and hit you and you kind of get the whiplash just like that. See, so that's exactly what I'm talking about, and this colt isn't 100% ready for me yet to be doing all this stuff to him.
This is Editing Becky checking in with armchair quarterback Kate in the comments section. We're going to see what she has to say how Becky should have handled this situation. Kate, over to you. Ooh, did you see what she was wearing? Those ugly brown pants, and she's all bundled up like she's going to the Arctic. I bet that horse doesn't even recognize her, and that's why he's spooked like that. I tell you what, honey, what that horse needs is some good wet saddle blankets. That's all he needs. You just ride him really, really hard every single day. Make sure you get those white marks on his back too, where the saddle goes up over his withers on his shoulders too. That makes them really, really good horses when you do that to him. I got a boyfriend. He can do that for you. Well, it's kind of a cowboy I was seeing. I met him at the last rodeo, but anyway, He could do that for you. He can get you some wet saddle blankets. All right, well, thank you for that input, armchair quarterback Kate. That was not helpful at all. We're going to send it back out to Becky in the field. I'm editing Becky, and thank you for watching.
And especially being tied up like that. Now, after I get done brushing on him, we are going to go into the round pen, and we're going to do it not being tied. There's lots of different ways to do it, just like I've been talking about. Everything that I've been talking about so far is there's so many different ways to do everything that we do. There are people that get away with tying them up and doing all the handling with them. I kind of do a little bit of mixture of both. I'll have them out here tied up. You know, I'm looking to see how okay they are. See, now he's all nervous with me again. He's not okay with what I'm doing. You know, he's got his head up. His eyes are big. Now, if I had him untied or we were in the round pen, he could get away. And most of the time, horses are just looking to get the heck away from you. And sometimes that's the easiest way to deal with the situation, is to allow them to get away, because then you don't get tangled up in all of that crap. And I wasn't expecting that. And a lot of people aren't expecting it when they do get into trouble with a horse. So we're just going to try to go back. See, he's not comfortable with me again, and so we do a lot of this. Just a lot of the back and forth, get out of his space, get back up in there, and see what he's okay with. And he's been tied here before and been brushed on. This isn't the first time he's been brushed on here. So we'll go back to it again. And he's not cocking that leg for me yet. He's not telling me he's okay with it. He's keeping an eye on everything I'm doing. He still has his neck and head up. He's really paying attention to all of it. Again, make friends with this tail. Scratch this tail here. And right now, he's just tucking his tail and grabbing his butt. He is not comfortable at all with me back here. I'm going to retreat. See if he's okay with that. Start with the head and work my way back down the body again. With horses like this, you have to stick to a routine. They want to sit back, you let them sit back. It's absolutely of utmost importance that you have a solid, good tie rail and you have a solid halter and lead rope on them, because my motto is they got two choices: to be good or to be really, really good. And with this guy, so far up to this point working with him, he has just been kind of a big fraidy cat and overreactive, as you can see. He hasn't wanted to be mean. If he were adding being mean on top of this, like trying to kick and trying to get me per se, as I'm standing here walking around him, then that would really change the dynamics of our relationship as well. So right now I'm just going to keep on going back and doing exactly what I was doing. I'm not going to add anything else to what he's already learned. And like I said, he's already been brushed at this tie rail before. And, you know, this can all get done whether I'm in the round pen or in his corral. You guys got to get out of here. Whether I'm in the round pen or in his corral, all of this stuff can be done to him when he's not tied up. Being tied up adds a different level of pressure to the entire situation. So when you have a horse that's at the level where they're handling other riders and they're packing people down the road, and they've been hauled and they stand tied to the trailer and they're good for the shoer and all that other stuff, when you start to think about those horses are really worth their weight in gold when you look at what you go through to get him to that point. You know, I spent a lot of time on him. There you go, bud. All right, I'm going to move him around to the other side. We're going to work on the other side. And in this case, I give them a really, really wide berth to change directions. When they turn around, I want them to get right back up against that rail. I want them to face up to me and acknowledge me when we change directions. There is nothing more infuriating than a horse that moves its hip back and forth. Like, say you're at an event, at a trail ride, you unload your horse off the trailer, you tie it up, and it starts acting like an idiot, and it smacks you as you're walking by it or trying to stand there grooming it because it wants to look off at something else. So we can see here as I'm explaining to you and I'm moving my hands and making these gestures that all of this stuff is just making him really upset. And I'm not doing anything to him. And like I said before, he's overreactive. He doesn't handle pressure that well yet. And had I not even had him tied and I was doing this in the round pen or doing this over in his corral, this wouldn't be a problem. But the element of pressure comes from being tied like that. Okay? Walk up to him, pet him. Walk around here. Get this out of the way. So this seems to be becoming more of a learning how to tie lesson than it is a handling feet lesson. That's okay. They're going to tell us what they need and what they want to have worked on every single day. Back out of his space. And he was turned out for a little while, so he had an opportunity to play. See how he flinches when I bring up the second hand? You know, that's just another thing. When you look at really broke horses that handle having two hands on them all time, or you have somebody bridling them on one side and the other person saddling them, or you've got a little kid on the other side, and that little kid is tinkering and doing something with a piece of the equipment, and that good broke horse is standing there and tolerating all of that. And it really makes you open your eyes to those horses being worth their weight in gold, and that's why they're so expensive, is because they've been put through all of this stuff already. They've already gone through all of this, and somebody spent a lot of time doing this with them. So he can't handle two hands. Let's try the other hand. He's into both hands. Keep brushing. And he's still telling us in his body language he doesn't like us that. You know, he's tolerating it, but he's not accepting it. He's very uptight, the head's up. He's very reactive to everything. He's not cocking a hind leg. He's thinking he wants to get out of here pretty quick. Okay. So for the sake of where he's at, and I can tell he's not comfortable yet with me going any further back that direction, I'm going to go ahead and untie him, and we're going to go to the round pen, and we're going to take the pressure off of being tied and see how much that makes a difference when we groom on him and start working on picking up his feet inside there, okay? So give me a minute. I'm going to change the position of the camera and grab a different rope here, and we'll go inside and work on him in there. All right, so same horse. Here we are in the round pen with him. I just reset up the camera. I apologize for the shadows this time of year, this time of day. They're just really bad. So we've taken the pressure off of him by untying him, and we're back in his classroom. He's really comfortable and he feels really good in here. Now, I'm sure some folks are thinking, well, why don't you just work him a little bit, get him a little bit tired? There's the old work him into the ground saying. I have found that with this horse specifically, the more I make him work, the more escalated he gets and the worse he gets. So the quieter I can keep him, the better he is. And, you know, he works a lot like a lot of speed bred horses do that I work with. And he's not speed bred. So it's very bizarre to me to have him be as reactive to pressure as he is and as he has been. So I couldn't decide what rope I wanted to go with. I grabbed my lunge line because just in case he wants to get out of here, I have a little bit of room. I don't have this colt super soft laterally yet. Like if he wants to leave, he's going to leave, and I have the confines of the round pen to help me out if that's the case, okay? And see, he's not even super comfortable with me talking to you guys in the camera. And I've done a lot of talking to him, but he still can't wrap his head around this whole experience. So I'm going to go back to brushing him. Now I switched from the curry to a regular brush. And we're going to see if we can get him comfortable with us doing this stuff right in here. And this seems really, really remedial, okay? This seems like, I don't know, some days it's like, man, I would love to just pay somebody to come in and brush a horse for me. But the thing is that as trainers, as horse handlers, there's a science to it, getting our hands on them, you know, seeing how they react and what they do, because all of his reactions that he does right now, they're all going to be similar to how he reacts to everything else that he does in his life. Whether it's his first ride out, his first time going to a show, his first time going to town, his first time anything. What I have found in all the years of starting colts is that their reactions are generally the same across the board. So he kind of wants to spook and scatter and kind of get away. That's pretty safe to say his first ride, he's going to spook and scatter and run laps with me in here, and I'm prepared for it. So we're just going to go back to brushing, getting comfortable in his space. If he wants to leave, he can leave. And see him lick and chew as soon as he got out of my space. He's just not comfortable with me that close to him. And once he got himself out of that space, he was like, "Oh, that's a relief." And so this is what we do. You know, when you can't make huge advancements in a short amount of time, you have to do it like this. And the other thing that plays into this is the weather and the temperature. Right now it's 32 degrees out with a feels like 27, and you know, there's really not much of a breeze. But I tell you what, I'm cold. It's cold. You know, their body is tense. Everything feels differently. You know, we could use a little bit of warmer weather to be working with this colt. He'd probably do a whole lot better if it was about 80 degrees outside. And that doesn't mean we have to work him into the ground, doesn't mean we have to have him in a full sweat. You know, my body feels a whole lot better when it's warm. I'm sure his body would feel a whole lot better in a warmer climate. Okay, now we got a leg cocked. All right, we're doing all right there. I'm going to retreat. He allowed that. He was okay with it. Come back in. Not okay with that much brushing. And truly with a horse like this, what I'll do to start handling those feet is I just take my brush and I start running my brush down their leg. Like, we're not even going to get a foot picked up today. We're just going to get that brush run down his leg, because today he's decided he's not ready for me to touch him down there again. Come on. Yep. Let's go to the other side. There we go. And see, he's still really abrasive. See how he's looking for an exit strategy. Heads up high, looking off. And as soon as I backed up out of his space, the head came down, he relaxed a little bit. You know, for as gentle as he is, you know, and whenever we think of something that's not gentle, we think of something that's just renegade and you can't halter it and it drags you all over the place. Well, he's not doing that with me. He just doesn't want me touching him anywhere. He's not comfortable with me in his space. So we'll be doing good just to get this brush all over him today. And some days it's like that. Okay. There you go. All right. See how he's gradually letting me run my brush down his leg? That's how we get it. There's no neat way, there's no shortcut, there's no magic that happens. It's just all that work that we just did at the tie rail and everything that we just did right here that led right up to picking up his front leg like that. I mean, sure, there's things we can do. We can rope a leg, we can tie legs up on him, we can throw him to the ground. In my experience, I've had that work for me on a couple of occasions, but it doesn't last. It works for that immediate moment when you need to do it, but it doesn't last. And for long-lasting results, you have to develop this relationship with them and spend the hours and spend this time. And this right here is why that whole 30-day colt is a bunch of BS. You know, somebody brings this horse to you that's like this. Yeah, I could have him done in 30 days, but you know what? I'm gonna get around him is what's gonna happen. I'm not gonna get through to him. I'm not gonna get him broke. I'm not going to make this compliant, reasonable partner out of him. I'm going to make a horse that's scared of me, most likely, and will only work if he's been worked into the ground or somebody's been mean to him a lot. So you have to pay your dues. You have to spend the time with them, and some of them are just going to take longer than others. And generally, after you've been around enough of them, you kind of learn which ones those are. And I can generally tell who those horses are from the time they're babies. If you halter break them when they're a baby, I can tell who they're going to be as a baby. If I had been around this halter breaking him as a baby, I would have been able to identify all these things, and I would have gotten to work on him a little bit sooner. But he was always kind of gentle and friendly. And once we stuck a halter on him and took him out of his comfort zone, things kind of changed a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to keep on brushing on him. Now, I'm going to walk him back over here closer to the camera. The reason I've totally dropped all the coils in my lunge line is because I don't want to get tangled up in it. whether it's my hand or my body. And like when I go around this direction, let's say he decides to go that way. And you see where my lunge line is? Either A, I can hold and kind of sit on it and pull his head back over towards me, or I'm going to unravel, okay? And he's going to be gone, okay? And then I'm going to slide to the end of this lunge line, okay? That's what I have found that works best for me when I'm working on them. So on this side, I'm going to put it around me on this side. And we might not get to this front leg on this side. We might not get to it because he's deciding today he doesn't want to be touched over there. Here's something else to think about, and if I can get it on recording, I will get it on recording for you and insert it. My arena, I have 7 horses turned out in that arena right now. And of those 7, 5 of them are stallion prospects or young studs that need castrated, and then I have 2 geldings. And they're always playing, and they're always biting on each other, riding each other around, and being general idiots. And what I notice about studs that I don't see in mares and fillies, and I've observed this for probably the last 10, 12 years, is that when studs play with each other, they will reach down and they grab at each other's lower leg. And you see them, and they kind of buckle down and get down to their knees, and then they rear up, and they come back down again, and they bite each other at their knees and ankles. And what I find, and I find it mostly in geldings and in stallions that I work on, is that picking up front legs comes a lot tougher to them than picking up hind legs or picking up legs on a mare. And I think it stems from that type of play when they're babies, when they're turned out together, when they're all screwing around. So he's having a hard time, or he has not, I should say, made a distinction between me and just one of the guys yet. So he's not going to give up that leg to me because I'm not this person, this partner that he wants to accept and allow me to put a little bit of pressure on him and accept that pressure. And I'm okay with him not picking it up that time because he didn't move. I'm okay with that. I'll take that. He lowers his head when I step back away. Ultimately, this horse is only comfortable with me when I'm about this far away from him. As soon as I come back into space, the head goes back up. He's given us a lot of body language. He's given us a lot of cues that he's not ready. And that's the biggest thing when I've had folks ask me for groundwork. I've been hesitant to show groundwork because, man, you can get in so much trouble in groundwork with these guys. And, people don't know timing. And heck, my timing isn't always right. And you can get in a really big wreck. You can get in the horse in a wreck. You can traumatize them. You could traumatize yourself, and you've got to pay attention to all of these signals that they're giving you. The old saying, the dog just turned on me. He'd never bit anything in his life. Like, no, there were signals there. Like the horse that it just did something counterfeit. Rarely do horses do something counterfeit. I've had a handful in my lifetime, but most of the time when I had a chance to sit back for 2-3 months with an injury and I had time to reflect, I knew exactly what I did wrong. I knew exactly the look they gave me right before I did what I did that caused them to do what they did to me. So we're going to finish up with that because I know this has been a really long video and it's probably been a little bit boring. It's been slow moving and, we really didn't get to working on the feet all that much, but we got to working through some of the steps that it takes to get to handling the feet. I'll try to get you guys more footage of this next time around, weather permitting. I sure appreciate you watching if you made it this far. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video, get more subscribers out there. We only are at like 825 right now. I'd sure like to build this community. And, drop a comment in the comments below. Send me an email. Message me on Facebook, Becky Emil Horse Training. If you guys have something that you want to know about, you want to see, and I'll do my best to show it to you. So again, I hope you make good choices, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.